40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
Last time out in the Britpart all-wheel drive Safari Championship in association with Par Homes, it would be back to winning ways for Andy DiGiulio after a quieter than usual 2022. Back to finding places in the house for new silverware. Simon Adams debuted the new car at Walters Arena and put in some fantastic times to take second place, with Douglas Devenall-Batt rounding out the podium positions in third. For round 2 of the series, sponsored by AJD Off-Road and ProLink Suspension, the crews head south to Dorset and the Clouds Hillside, better known to many as Bovington, used predominantly as a tank training ground. This was going to be a real test of cars and crews. Let's get straight out for the first of the day's runs then, and once again it will be Andy DiGiulio and Paul Foley setting the pace and leading the way after 3 runs. Their day wasn't without its problems so far, though. They break a rear shaft off the start line of the very first run. Thankfully for them, they didn't lose too much time and were able to get back into the lead soon afterwards. Such was that ominous pace. The issues for DiGiulio on the opening run, though, would mean Rick Mann would be leading the event early on. He dropped down to second for the next run and frustratingly retiring soon after that. Mick and George Chick make a great start to the event. They were visibly fast on the course, as you can see, putting in some good times as well on the board, ending the first few runs with second place on the overall leaderboard now that Rick Mann had retired. And for Stuart Williams, it would be third. The buggies were always going to go well at a rough venue like this. He'd be the one to lead the way in the class with that final step on the podium overall as well for now. Behind him would be Steve Smith, just 15 seconds the difference at this stage in the event. He takes up 4th overall, 2nd in Class 9. And leading the way in Class 8 for now will be Alan Kirkland. The gap not quite as close, but things were still going well in 5th place overall, 1st in the class with just 3 runs under their belts. This would only be the 2nd visit to this venue for Thomas Smith, but the first with AWDC. And having not done too much in the car so far, it was still all about learning what it was capable of in his hands. Things going well though so far. 6th place for now, 3rd in class. Nick Pritchard, meanwhile, makes a great start to the event. The only one here in Class 3 though, so that position wouldn't be something he was too bothered about chasing, of course. That 7th place overall, however, was a very strong place to start the day and a good benchmark. Lee Potter and Mike Lang weren't the only ones in their class, so leading that would be a great start and a good measure of their pace so far. They were learning from the changes from that old car of theirs, trying to increase the pace, and going well so far with 8th on the leaderboard. Only the 2nd time in the car for Dale Wheeler and Kieran Jones, so they were still getting used to things. The event started off about as well as they could have expected, though. The lead in Class 4 was theirs at this stage of the day. And rounding out the top 10 would be Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley. They were having a good season so far. Things no different here. 2nd in Class 6 at this stage, as well as that 10th place overall. You know, as though we don't stop with the top 10, so just outside that top 10 leaderboard would be Philippa and James Tennant, taking up 2nd in Class 5 and working out the best lines around this rough course, starting to put in some faster times now. Of all the places for the wipers to stop working, this wasn't the best of them. But that's exactly what Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell had to put up with on the opening run of the day. They do get things sorted though, ending run 3 with 2nd place in Class 7 as well as 12th place overall. It was damage limitation for now with a sign of what could yet be to come. Frustratingly, though, there'd be more attrition. We lose Jason and Deb Walken early on. Their first time here and enjoying it. Apart from the lack of windscreen and all of that water, of course. But their event, with all of that told, would come to an end when the suspension broke on the car on the second run. For Leon Coles, it will be 13th place overall, as well as third in the class at this stage in the event. And Jonathan Harford and Daniel Drummond were once again pushing that Range Rover well, showing some good pace on the course to lead the class as well as lie in 14th overall. Just behind that Rangy on the overall leaderboard would be Hemi Smith. Third place in Class 5 as well at this stage, but not helped with an issue on run 3, slowing her down by almost 5 minutes. We'd find John Spracklin in second place in Class 4, 16th place on the leaderboard for now. And third in that class would be Michael Brown, here this weekend racing with friends for his stag do. Fantastic, what an activity to choose. Wish I'd done that. Lying in 17th place overall as well at this stage. And talking of Mike's friends, sadly for Joe Seymour and Tom Evans, who were also here for the stag do, it would be game over in run 3 when the suspension failed. Out this weekend on their first comp safari in the full Ultra 4 spec car, but loving every minute of it before those problems. Now it was time to get the beers in. 18th overall for now would be Alex Russell, ending run 3 with third place in Class 6 with some promising pace as well. And Reese and Sean Mattison come here having won the class and the Freelander Challenge section of the event at the first round, so brimming with confidence inside that car. They start this weekend off in much the same way, leading the class despite never having competed at this venue before. And as you've seen, it's a tough venue. For Margaret and Mike Bakewell, it will be third place in Class 7, 20th overall, and enjoying themselves in the first 3 runs of the day. Daniel and Alan Wilcox, though, will be struggling on the early runs, trying to find the balance between speed and not breaking the car on this tough course. Places like this don't always call for flat-out speed, but they start to develop an issue with the power on run 3. The car losing plenty of that. It was going to need looking at in the service area, but for now, second place in Class 1 was a solid start. And if you're going to call that damage limitation, we'd all take it, wouldn't we? For Thomas Parker, also in the same class, it will be third. 1 minute back in the class and the overall results, though. And rounding out the leaderboard for now will be James Withers and Andy Kent. 5th place in the class, 23rd overall. The times indicating they'd had a few issues out there on the course. So 3 runs complete then here at Cloud Hill, or Bovington, if that's how you know this event. Here's a reminder of how that leaderboard is shaping up so far here at round 2. Plenty of work to do in service then, and we're back out onto the next couple of runs. No change at the top of the leaderboard either for Andy DiGiulio and Paul Foley. They were leading the way now, and with a comfortable advantage at that. No issues to report, and just enjoying the way the car rides over this rough course thanks to the Fox shocks that they were keen to point out that they've been supplied by this round's sponsor at ProLinks. Second place at this stage now will be Steve Smith. A lot of change up and down the leaderboard, and this move was a good one, getting the times down under 10 minutes on a couple of the runs as well. And that means, yes, the eagle-eyed among you have spotted it. It's a change for Mick and George Chick. They moved down to third. They were around a minute back now in that position, but still pushing hard to see if they could salvage that second place back from their day. Part of the reason for these changes will be the loss of Stuart Williams from our leaderboard, retiring the car after run 5 and making it all change at the top of the results. Thomas Smith would gain a couple of positions in these runs to end run 6 in 4th overall. third in the competitive Class 9 battle as well, with our first and second place crews. There was no change in the class, though, for Dale Wheeler and Kieran Jones, but they do move up the overall order. A close call with a tree didn't do any damage, thankfully, and only lost them a few seconds, but it was a sign that they needed to watch out if they were going to get that car to the finish. For Lee Potter and Mike Lang, it will be a position gained on the overall leaderboard, ending this run with 6th. They keep hold of the lead in Class 6 as well for now. And second place in that class would still be Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley. No change to their class position, but they do move up the overall results to 7th overall for now. Philippa and James Tennant, meanwhile, move inside the top 10 for the first time now. Their times on these runs all within a few seconds of each other, so they seem to have settled on a pace that they were happy with. And for Leon Coles, it will be 4th in Class 9, as well as 9th place overall after 6 runs. Taking the last position for now in our top 10 rundown will be Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell. Starting to make a couple of mistakes by the 4th run of the day, they'd have to rein things in a little if they wanted to get to the end of the event. And you know what they say about finishing first. Unfortunately, we do lose Jonathan Harford and Daniel Drummond in this loop of runs, not getting any further and retiring the Range Rover. So before we take a look at how the class and overall positions were decided at the end of a pretty tough and grueling day out here on the course, here's a look at how those overall results were looking after run 6 here in Dorset. On to the rundown of our finishers then, and we'd see a 20th overall finish for James Withers and Andy Kent after a pretty mixed day for them. They also take 3rd in Class 9 due to the overall podium finishers not taking a class award. That really is damage limitation, isn't it? For Nick Pritchard, it will be the Class 3 victory, but any hopes of a better result, overall at least, were put to an end with 2 maximum times throughout the day. The car cutting out after some of the water and unable to get it restarted at times. So close to the finish of the run as well, ending the event 19th overall. There was frustration as well for Steve Smith with problems on the car for the final 2 runs. He does enough to classify, but with those maximum times, it drops him right down from that 2nd place into 18th overall. Thomas Parker will be overhauled for a class position in the final 2 runs of the event, ending the day with 3rd in Class 1, 17th overall. And the day had been anything but straightforward for Daniel and Alan Wilcox, but they still managed to jump up the order into 2nd place overall in that class. Wiper issues causing a bit of an issue with the unavoidable water on this course, at one point requiring them to pull over and clear the screen manually. They trace it back to the ball joints on the wipers breaking and needing a temporary repair to get them through the afternoon. Margaret and Mike Bakewell, though, have a good run to end the event with 15th place overall, as well as 2nd in Class 7 this weekend. Problems on run 5, adding to their overall times, but it didn't make much of a difference to their finishing position. Reese and Sam Matheson were starting to get some issues showing with the clutch from the 5th run of the day onwards. They were struggling to change gear because of it. They do try to fix the issue, but without success, having to continue for the rest of the day with limited gears available to them. Pick them wisely, lads. Thankfully, they did, keeping hold of the class victory. There was no change in the class, meanwhile, for Alex Russell. 3rd place in Class 6 to end the event, up to 13th overall. And just ahead on the overall leaderboard in 12th would be John Sprackling, still holding on to 3rd in Class 4 as well, right to the finish. Second place in that class would be this man, Michael Brown. The postman Pat Van going well round the course and putting in some good times as well. A great end to his stag do. And what a place and what a championship. What an idea for a stag do. I'm going to steal that one day for someone's stag do that I'm going on, I promise you. On to the top 10, and it will be 10th place overall for Jonathan Damrell and Nick Blundell. They were changing the brake pads after every pair of stages due to them wearing right down. But other than that, they'd be happy to get to the end of a grueling event with a Class 7 victory under their belts as well. The times at the end of a pretty difficult day had not exactly reflected the adventure for Philippa and James Tennant. They were not having a straightforward run with the work needed on the car later in the day. But the times were still good, remarkably. They end the event 9th place overall, 2nd in Class 5. For Lee Potter and Mike Lang, it would be 8th overall, dropping down the overall results a little, but happy enough with the finish. Also moves them to 2nd place in Class 6 as well. That change in the overall and in the class results will be due to Harry Nicol and Emily Sibley taking that position now. A strong run from them, ending the event 7th place overall and taking the Class 6 victory this weekend away from round 2. With the podium positions not taking class points, it will be the Class 9 victory for Leon Coles. A good end to the event with 6th overall as well. And it was a very welcomed end and a deserved one to the 2nd round of the championship for Hemi Smith, taking Class 5 victory and a fantastic 5th place overall. The course really suiting the car this weekend. Their pace was brilliant. A brake pipe issue on run 6 would cause Del Wheeler and Kieran Jones a bit of time, but they still managed to get to the end of the event with 4th place, just missing out on a podium, which is frustrating, but they take the Class 4 victory home, so plenty of silverware and championship points from Dorset. Thomas Smith, though, would enjoy his weekend, and it showed in the times, ending the event with the final step on our podium. A good finish, clearly getting to grips with that car now. And the times for Mick and George Chick were looking great all day. The pair managing to get themselves back up into 2nd place by the finish. A strong result for the pair, who took that position with a couple of minutes as an advantage as well. But all of that, of course, means it is victory number 2 for Andy DiZulio and Paul Foley. There was no stopping them once they'd got those run 1 issues out of the way. 2 maximum scores on the board for the season so far, then looking good for the championship, even at this early stage. So with round 2 complete, here's a look at those overall positions in the Britpart All-Wheel Drive Championship in association with Par Homes.
Broke not without drama, broke a drive shaft first pull away on the first lap. Broke it within the first, I think, 15 foot. So it wasn't an ideal start, but managed to limp back. I know Rick Mann took, I think, a minute out of us on that lap. We knew we would have to push hard to claw it back, but I think he retired. But yeah, we fixed it and got it going, and yeah, here we are, win number 2.
It's been rough out there, but the car looks like it's suited to it.
Yeah, the R5's made for it. It's really good fun, to be honest. It's it's just enjoyable weekend out. Yeah.
Good weekend for us, really. It was nice to come back from Walters having a good result, and now we've come here and having to finish on a good result as well. So it's good for us. It was fortunate that there was other guys dropping out, and we was able to carry on climbing up the board.
So it's been a bit of a rough course. How have you found it out there?
It was a rough course, but we had a lot of problems as well, engine problems, and the gear stick coming off in the gearbox weren't helpful, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but we got through it.
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed it. It's only my 2nd time at the All-Wheel Drive Club. I haven't actually entered under All-Wheel Drive Club, but they do put on a great event, and it's really good getting used to this car, getting ready to, learning to drive it. Obviously, it's a bit faster than what I normally do with Score, but it's been fantastic. Weather's been great. I can't, it's been a great Easter bank holiday.
Have you been to this venue before?
Bovington was the first place I did. It was the first round I've done. I did that with Score though last year, and that's when I purchased the car. So, yeah, it's second time here. It's great fun.
That's it then for round 2. Next up, our crews head back to Wales and to familiar ground. But that doesn't mean it will be plain sailing. We will, of course, be there to bring you all of the action on our page soon after the event. Thanks for watching.
Care 40 for Rateable Crest Titans.